My name is Sabine Nair. I'm a program manager on the data integration team in CDS. And specifically, we own together dual write, data integrator, data export services, and there's another service that we're working on. We'll talk about that later. With me?
Hi everyone, my name is Mudit Mittal. I'm engineering manager for data integration area.
All right. Okay, a slide that I've learned from my past conferences. We tend to use a lot of acronyms, so apologies up front. But this is what we mean. When we say Dynamics 365 for sales, or C, we kind of mean that. CDS is Common Data Service. F&O is Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. That's a long name. We also say D365 F&O or F&O just or FinOps. That's another thing that we use. Data integrator, we typically call it DI when we write emails, but when I'm talking, I'll typically say data integrator. And dual write is dual write, or we call it DW internally. All right? So in terms of session learning objectives, I just want to cover what we cover today and then the takeaways from there. So in terms of agenda, we will have we want to explain why we built what we built. So that's something I'm sure everybody's asking, like, why should you care for another service? So we start with the why for dual write, then what is dual write, how do you set up, and all those pieces. And then we have the features in preview. Who knows that dual write is in preview, in public preview? All right, great. So May 20th is when we announce dual write public preview. So we'll talk five scenarios and demos. So we demo 5 scenarios and demos. So we demo 5 scenarios and demos. So the demo will be majority of today's presentation, less slides. We'll talk about an architecture deep dive for dual write. I've always said this. Even yesterday we had a session on a different topic. While we want to call it magic, it is not magic. There is something real that happens behind the scenes. I'm sure a lot of customers want to learn that. We will cover, of course, roadmap and timelines. That's key to a lot of people. There are people, which is exciting, there are people threatening to go live on dual write even before we GA. And I'm like, don't do that to us. So that's a good sign that people are liking it. But we'll talk about timelines. And in the past conferences, we took feedback from you guys that what do you want to see in Data Integrator? And some of those promises we hope we have delivered, so I'm just going to rehash, kind of celebrate victory there a little bit. All right? In terms of what should your session takeaways, learning objectives be, we want you to understand dual write, like why we built it, as I said it. Learn how to enable it, because we want you guys to test it. This is the best time to do it and start giving us feedback, because you have a few months before we make it generally available. So between now and making it GA, you want to give us feedback. We understand every business is different, so just like Data Integrator, dual write also lets you customize things right out of the box, right from day one. And of course, the roadmap and timelines. All right, this is my little PowerPoint. The demo hopefully is faster than this, actually. So you know this best as customers who use the CRM and the ERP side. So you have sales to do the monitoring pieces, the invoicing and fulfillment is done through finance and operations. The biggest issue, in fact, that was a lot we talked about yesterday at the booth as well, that these guys don't talk to each other. These two apps don't inherently talk to each other. Anybody knows how we fixed the problem a couple of years back? We tried to fix the problem? Yes? Okay. So CDS, that's a good name as well. Data Integrator, thank you. So clearly we have many names, but Data Integrator is what we called it. So Data Integrator was just that. It was a async, batch-based integration. It was more about, hey, we'll let you schedule syncs at particular intervals. There were customers who were very happy with syncing every few hours, and that did the job for them. There were customers who needed a higher frequency, maybe every hour. It did the job for them, and that still remains. So if that's a question in your mind, it still continues. That's our baby. We'll continue along with it. No changes there. In fact, we'll keep adding to it. What we plan to solve is this. We want these guys to start sharing data. It's my little cheesy demo. So we want these guys to start talking to each other, and those are the challenges that we plan to solve with dual write. That's where dual write is going to make things happen. So what is dual write? At a very high level, a change you make on finance and operations is written into CDS without you truly setting anything up. A change you make in CDS is written into finance and operations without you anything setting it up. So it's more a tightly coupled integration, because that's what we learned, that there is a place for a schedule-based integration, and this is what some of the customers wanted. So this is a tightly based integration, near real time. Hopefully the demos live up to it. Bidirectional, that's another piece that we have constantly heard. So these are the main pieces at a very high level. That's what dual write was meant for. If you know the finance and operations, it writes to its own database. So that still continues. What we wanted it to happen is, like, when it's doing that, also write to CDS and vice versa. That's the big step we have taken. That's the work we have done for the past few months to make this happen, and this is a big bet. And I'll tell you some things that we've already heard from customers in terms of what they want next. We'll come to the Q&A, and I'll explain that part as well. In terms of features, and this is probably the last one before demo. Okay. In terms of features, as I said, at a very basic level, you make a change here, it definitely should replicate. There are out-of-the-box entities that Microsoft will provide. Today, we have one, but I'll show you the roadmap for another 30 or 40 that ends up, it should be in end of June, you should get another 30, 40, and that continues through GA and even further. So finance and operations team is making a big bet on that, so you'll see a lot of these entities coming in. But if you have some other entities that you want to go live with today, you want to go forward tested today, you can certainly do that. I should correct myself, right? Outside of that, so custom for standard and custom entities, a simple and intuitive user interface. By the way, I should call out, there are a bunch of people back there, Sanchit, Anshuman, and Sushant. These are the devs. They built dual write for you. So you have the UI person, you have the devs there, backend as well. Thank you. And I mean, trust me, you use it, I hope the floor increases. So ability to customize entities and field mappings, and something that we just announced as part of the preview, a consolidated way, because one of the things that we received feedback on, it's not easy to troubleshoot. It's beautiful when it works, but when it breaks, the seam starts showing up. Kind of know that? So we took one minor step to consolidate all the errors and whatnot, but we have a huge plan from there on. So expect a lot to happen, but we'll show you what we have today. The demo, you want to just take over?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Sabeen. As Sabeen mentioned, most of the time we'll spend up today is, kind of demoing stuff. Now, good thing is there are things which we are going to show today. Even if you are using, dual write today, you don't know about those. There are new things which we would be kind of putting in private preview. So we'll talk about that. But we'll start with the initial stuff like the setup and configuration. How can you configure dual write? And then how do you kind of like enable the data which was written before you enable dual write into both systems, which we call initial sync. Post that will give you the demo, like when you are live, at that point when you use dual write, how does the live changes go in? And then obviously, like every time we demo, we get this question, are customizations supported or not? So, we thought like we'll give you a simple, taste of what it takes to customize, the mappings. And then post that we want to do like something interesting, error resiliency and alerts. By the way, this is one of the kind of huge things which is stopping us to take this to GA. Okay, we kind of announced the private preview for dual write in October. In October itself, the live sync was working. A lot of people said like, hey, why do we need to wait for another 6 months to 8 months to go live? These are the reasons which you have to wait for. So think about scenarios when FNO, you want to take a plant maintenance update. You want to take a PU update. It takes what, like good amount of hours, I believe. Okay, what does it happen? Do you want to take your CDS or sales app also down? Obviously not. So we had to do some work to make sure dual write is resilient to those things. Other scenarios, you're doing a high volume import on FNO, and let's say a normal user on CDS is not able to write because FNO is throttling. What happens in those cases? What can we do as dual write team to make sure when one app is throttling, the other is reacting in a proper way to that. So we're going to demo those things, and then another interesting thing which we are going to soon take in private preview is support for legal entities. Okay, everyone knows like FNO has this concept of legal entities. You can call it data area ID, company code, OM legal entity, and CDS has this concept of business units. And technically, these things are very different. Okay, not only technically, functionally also, these things are completely different. Now, how do we solve this to make sure dual write looks like one product? Okay, so we have been working very closely with FNO team and CDS team to make sure there are changes they would be doing on the CDS side to kind of gel these concepts together. Okay, we'll give you a little bit taste of that part of the demo.
Switch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with the configuration pieces. How do you set up dual write? This is the data management dashboard inside FNO. This is what you use for import, export, and all. For the time being, we have added a tile called link to CDS for apps. Name may change when we go GA, okay? But for the preview purposes, this is the tile, okay? We went, I think, public preview almost like less than a month back, if I'm not wrong.
May 20th, yeah.
Okay, so if you use PU27 or higher, you would see this tile, okay? Without any whitelisting, okay? You can click on this tile. So day 0, what happens? We are going to kind of open an inbuilt iframe if I have to kind of technically go there. This is a UI which we have hosted inside FNO, okay? But this is part of dual write infrastructure. Day 0, there's no environment linked. The first thing we want to do is we want to figure out what is the related CDS environment to which we want to kind of enable dual write, okay? So this will automatically discover the environments. Are you guys able to see the screen from back? Okay. I'm going to pick this one. So there are a bunch of environments related to this user. Okay. Post that, what we would discover is the legal entities which are already there on the FNO side. So we can decide which legal entities we want to enable for dual write. Okay. There's a huge list. Okay, I'm going to pick one. And I promise I'll demo with 2 in the end. Okay. So I do remember my slides. Okay. And then there is the consent notice, like, hey, we are moving data and all. I'm going to press create. Now, this is just, like the first step to establish relationship between FNO and CDS to say like, hey, I have my FNO environment, I have my CDS environment, and I want to kind of link them together, okay? Post this, what we can do is we can select entities which we want to kind of enable for dual write. Now, obviously, there's a huge list, okay? You won't be able to see that list yet, okay? One of the entities which is kind of in preview right now is customers, okay? You may only see that. But by end of the June, you would start seeing these other entities also, which would go in kind of preview with the FNO stuff. So let's do one thing. I'm going to filter on customers entity. Now, how many people are coming from DI background, data integrator? Okay, quite a few. So just for folks who were coming from data integrator background, we got tons of feedback that data integrator is very good. You can do all kind of complex things. But sometimes it feels like it's too advanced. I have to do connections, I have to do connection sets, I have to create projects and all that. So with dual write, what we did, we are trying to kind of abstract out those things and hide those things, okay? But reality is, we do need those things in backend. So you're not seeing them on the UI, but we are still doing those things, okay? There's still, behind the scenes, there's concept of projects, there's concept of templates, connections, but it's just, we don't make you, kind of go through that pain to set up those things, okay? Now, There is a customer entity which maps to account entity. The state says not running. Now, before I enable this, in all practical scenarios, there are customers who are already live on FNO, correct? They already have data, okay? And they also have CDS, okay? Or maybe, they're going live with CDS or vice versa. So net, we need to make sure like somehow this initial data also gets synced, okay? For that piece, we will demo initial sync today. That's one of the new things. Before I go there, I'll just kind of show, this is my FNO instance. I have the customer list page opened. USMF company, there are a bunch of records. To kind of make demo easier, I've created 2 records called Aaron and Anna. They show up on the top if you want to remember. And this is my sales instance. And I only have 2 records here. Okay? A-Datum and Azure Inc. Again, starting from A to make the demo easier. Now, these records do not exist on FNO side, and the FNO records do not exist on CDS side. Okay? That said, if you had overlapping records, that would still work. Okay? For the demo, I'm showing records which are isolated, but if you have AXN, kind of CDS instances where you already have data and the data would be similar, we would kind of link them together. Okay? It's not that we want you to kind of delete data from one instance. Okay? Now, obviously, when I say that, the first question would be like, how would you do conflict resolution and all those kind of things? We'll get to that. Okay? Now, let's stick to this thing. What I'll do is I'll enable the sync. There is entity mappings, and there are a lot more options. We'll go there, but I'll just click run. So the first time when I click run, it would try to go check if those environments already have data. If it already has data, it would try to pull that data, and kind of make sure both FNO and CDS has the same set of data. Okay? Now, if I go to the CDS screen, let's try to refresh. It should start pumping in records in any moment. Okay? Let's just give it like a few seconds. But understand, this is not live sync. This is still batch sync. This is classic DI. Because the amount of records we would be talking about initial sync could be even in millions. Okay? So this is still a sync process running behind the scenes to make sure your initial systems are in sync. Okay? See, if you guys remember Anna, Aaron, okay? And bunch of other FNO records. And the
magic begins.
Yeah, to make it more interesting, it's not just the name and other fields. It would be things like addresses. If you see, there is an address called 1 Microsoft Lane on Aaron's record. Let's go here in CDS. You'll see phone numbers coming up, and obviously the address also showing up. Okay, so it's kind of like an interesting one where we are trying to do a merge between 2 different kind of apps. Okay, let's see if we got new records on the FNO side as well. We should get 2 new records, A-Datum and Azure Sync. So these are the 2 CDS records. Okay, again we can check addresses, phone numbers should be there. The address is there, the phone numbers are there. Okay, that was the initial sync. Okay, now let's see if initial sync has actually completed. I'll have to refresh this guy. Okay, it's still processing. You can go click on the status all the time to see what is happening. So after the initial sync completes, what we do is we enable the live sync. We are going to talk about the architecture behind it, but high-level people who know about CDS, we use plugins inside CDS infrastructure. So after the initial sync completes, we'll go register our plugins. So I think at this point, the plugin registration just completed, and the state changed to running. Okay. Now, what this means is like whatever the initial gap between the system was, it's now bridged, and now I can, I'm kind of live. I can start using both the systems together. Okay. So let's start with FNO. by creating a new record, new customer. Okay. Let's do AB003, and let's put Sabine's name.
It'll always work.
Okay. By the way, it's just to make sure if it doesn't work, we can blame it on him. Okay. Let's put some address as well. Okay, and I'll click save. Now, one of the key things which I'll talk in the architecture slide as well, by the way, the sync completed. It was so fast. Okay, it's synchronous. The moment I press save on FNO, the record was written to CDS. And it should be already there. Sometimes it gets so hard to demo dual write. It is so fast. I don't get time to even complete what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's see if Sabine is here. Oh, Sabine is there. Okay. There is his address as well. Let's change Sabine's address. Okay. Since Sabine's work at Microsoft, let's make it one Microsoft way, 98052. Oh, the country is still US. Okay. Let me put the state as well. Okay. Same thing. As soon as I press save here, it'll go write it to FNO. Now, when I demoed for the first time, you may see like it'll be slightly slower, though it completed. It's because of cache and plugins. On both sides, the cache and plugins need to be a little bit warmed up. But the real performance, if you want to ask, is sub-seconds for an account entity to work. Okay? Now let's go on the FNO side. Let's refresh Sabine's record. Okay? The address changed to one Microsoft way, Redmond. Okay? Now, let's do another interesting stuff. Let's create more records from CRM this time. A new record from CRM. Let me put my name. Okay. Okay. Obviously, that's not my real phone number. Okay. Let's just save this guy. So again, kind of the data is already pushed. We can go here. Sometimes I feel the apps are slower than dual write. That was just a joke. Okay, so my record exists. And obviously, kind of whatever information I pulled in is also there. Okay. We can also do stuff like, I want to add address here later. Obviously, a record created from CDS, and I'm adding address later. So let me just put something which is obviously valid. Okay, it's done. Let's quickly refresh this guy. Okay, the address is there. Okay. That's high level, kind of the live sync. Okay. Whatever we showed you is based on mappings. Nothing is hard coded. Okay. If you have an entity on FNO, if you have an entity on CDS, and if you do the mappings, and I'll show you how to do those mappings, dual write should just work. Okay. So there is no special code which I wrote for these entities. Okay. Now, often we get like, what is the performance? Obviously, there is the platform performance and there is the performance of the actual business logic which you write on the entity. Now, if you have an entity with 500 tables with, 1,000 lines of code and, the best business logic in the world, which takes an hour per record, then the platform won't be able to do much. Okay? What platform does is platform calls all the standard APIs, the publicly available APIs. As long as your entity itself performs, what we guarantee is there is least overhead from the platform point of view. And when we talk about the architecture, you'll realize it. For live sync, there is nothing in between the apps. The apps are actually directly talking to each other. FNO directly talks to CDS, and CDS directly talks to FNO. So whatever performance you're getting from the OData APIs, It's pretty much similar performance you'll get from dual write, minus the magic which we are doing, which we're going to talk about. Okay? Now, that was around the live sync. Let me also show you, enabling custom mappings. So at an entity level, you can go change the entity mappings. There are field level mappings very similar to data integrator. By the way, like most of the stuff which we did in data integrator is reused in dual write. So folks who are waiting for the question like, is data integrator going away? I can answer now itself, no. We are using that very much in, the dual write flow, the initial sync flow, the mappings, the templates, pretty much everything is same. Okay? Now, there are all kind of different mappings. There are assignments, there are transformations. But I would show like a simple field assignment. For the purpose of demo, we added, a column called organization number, which doesn't exist in the mapping, I realize. So I'm going to add a new field level mapping for that. So the field on F&O side is called organization number. Okay. And on CDS side, it is called, I think, my custom something. Okay. It's kind of like custom metadata, which I wanted to show. This is not a standard field on accounts. Once I do that, I can click Save. Okay. At this point, what happens is we redo the plugins and registrations to make sure the latest kind of mappings are there. Okay. It's done, it's running. Now if I go on an account, let's use this account. And on the top, there is this organization number field. org001. Okay. So this is again like an additional mapping which I added, which was not there before. I did a save, it happened instantly. When I go here, this was the custom field. It's currently blank. I'll refresh the form to make sure the latest record shows up. Okay. And the org001 value shows up. Okay. Next thing we want to show you is around error resiliency. But for that, I forgot like one of the initial steps. So let me show you an extra demo to kind of cover up my mistake. I'll show you how to kind of unlink your environments, and I'll relink it quickly. So this is how you stop, and there is a pause button as well, which I would explain part of the error resiliencies. Okay. What this means is it's kind of going to deregister the plugins and make sure the apps are disconnected. Okay. And then last step is unlink. Let me quickly clean my data as well. Just 1 minute. Okay, and I should be done. We can have questions, if you have, while I do that. Yeah.
Yep.
You show the extension of custom field in CRM.
Yeah.
Does it, when I change the map, it lists fields extension on data which is in F&O as well?
Yes, it does. So I'll repeat the question. His question was like, whatever we showed was kind of related to customizations on F&O side, CDS side. What happens if I have extensions on F&O side? The beauty of what we do is it's all based on metadata. We actually don't even know whether a particular field or a particular extension is standard or custom. Okay? So anything which exists at the data entity layer will kind of use that. Okay. I'll have to link it quickly again, but keep asking questions till then. Yeah.
So you showed the customers synchronizing all that, but we could see a difference in the number sequence. Is there an idea or like in a roadmap that we can create a global sequence between environments?
Yeah.
Different.
Okay. So I'll repeat this question. Like that's a very good question which comes at part of every demo. That like there are differences between FNO and CDS, and one of the key differences is they do not share number sequences. Okay. Part of the demo, he was clever enough to notice the number sequences for account were not same. I mean, is it something which we are kind of like going to align? I would say like, there is definitely an intention to do that. Okay. But that may not happen in near future. There are plans to work on it, but first, the team is trying to get more coverage over entities. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll answer that question and then we'll move to the demo back. His question was like, hey, the mappings which I changed, custom mappings, that was for a particular environment. What if I have to move it to sandbox, production? Standard ALM question, how do I do my ALM? So those are the items which we are actively working on. There is template concept today. There is a way to share it. But is it the best way, we want to expose it to our customers? No, there is where we are working on active UI elements to kind of make that happen. There are initial thoughts to even make some of these things part of CDS solutions. So make these component solution aware. But it's too early to say that. I would say like expect the next time we demo, we are going to have something around ALM. And it is supposed to happen before GA. Okay. Now we'll move back to the demo. What I wanted to show next was the error resiliency. So before I enable the sync, what I could do, I could set up alert settings. Now, what does that mean? I can say like, hey, when the dual write is running, if one of the app is down or like one of the app is throttling, usually I will get different errors. Like sometimes I'll get 401, sometimes I'll get like throttling error, sometimes app not available. So I can specify a threshold. Let's say if I get X amount of errors in 10 minutes. So take an action on behalf of the admin. And the actions can be like, hey, stop the dual write. I really want the environments to be disconnected from this point. Because like, hey, this is like kind of like, let's say some kind of banking transaction. There's no way I want to stop it. Okay. Versus I could say like, hey, stop, but send me an email so that I can start. Okay. Or another fancy thing which I'm going to demo is, hey, like if something goes wrong, pause it. Don't stop it. Let the transactions continue. And when the systems are back, magically, replay those transactions. Okay. So it's an interesting one. So let's do the setup. I'd say like if there are 3, errors, and I can define what kind of errors, application error, bad request, like 502. I'm going to select all of them.
So, I mean, if you see where we are going with this, we hid the initial pieces from you, trying to make it super simple, but we are giving you additional knobs in case you want to go that far. So you can customize, you can set it up for your environment and do a lot of things on your behalf. So these are advanced controls. Think of it that way.
Okay. Now, and then I can say like in 15 minutes, if I hit the error 3 to 4 times, first, definitely send me an email. Okay. And then there are options. I don't want to do anything. I just want to receive an email. That's the first option. Hey, I want to stop dual write. And the third one is I want to pause dual write and magically replay later. So let's do this. Okay. And, I'll have to run the initial sync one more time. So give it like 30, seconds or so. And I think I picked the wrong entity. Let me do it for accounts.
Like at Microsoft, when you're designing some of these things, people spend, especially the top management, they spend like 5 minutes in the wow section, like, wow, this is pretty cool. The next 1 hour is spent in like, what happens when something goes wrong? So you better have answers at that time. So that's where we have to spend the time. So we like to do it, but I'm just telling you that that's how these things came together.
Let's give it a minute.
Should we take a question or something?
Yeah, sure.
Any other question while we are doing this? Yes. Talent. So the FinOps talent, I believe, one way uses data integrator. The FinOps to CDS uses something else. It uses like I think they are written on top of an SDK, if I'm not wrong. So does it automatically plug into dual write? No. So dual write today supports finance and operations and CDS. That's where we start. If you remember when I introduced this, I said there is something that I'll tell you towards the end. One of the things that people constantly ask, talent has been there, but Business Central. How many people interested in Business Central here? I don't have any huge announcement to make, but I'm just telling you that this is the feedback that we've received every single time. Sorry? Marketing, I don't think. Have we? I haven't heard of it.
Marketing for what?
Like as part of dual write, like does that come up?
So, that's a very, very interesting question.
Yeah.
So any app or any, solution which is built on CDS. Yeah. So I know like that's where exactly I'm going. Now we won't say like marketing, sales, talent and all. Anything which is built on CDS platform can use, kind of dual write. So high level what it is, it's for us is just an entity.
Correct.
So we don't differentiate, but the out of the box mappings are going to slowly come. Like the marketing mappings may not come like day zero. Let's quickly move back to the demo,
And,
Sabine.
yeah, just to end that, so the Business Central is something they are working on. I think in October, they're going to evaluate and make a decision on going dual write route. So that's where we are. So same with talent, I don't know 100% yet. Yep, yep. Correct. Yeah. You mean, yeah, you're talking about incremental changes? Yes, absolutely. Just like DI.
Yeah.
Or data integrator.
Okay, now, I'll switch over to Sabine
Yeah.
to, kind of like,
You want to do this?
yes. Perfect.
Bah.
So what we're going to do when you do a planned maintenance upgrade on FNO, you usually, like the FNO instance would go away, okay? So we don't want to fire like a PU update, then there is no way for us to come back. But what we're going to do is we're going to stop the IS on the FNO VM, which basically simulates like, hey, FNO is down, okay? So, and I wanted Sabine to do that. You want me to connect?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is on till now. Should I disconnect? Switch?
Yeah.
Eight, right?
Okay, I'm just going to connect to the FNO VM. I was hoping Sabine would do that.
It puked on me.
See, it takes a lot of effort to take things down, you know, like. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Quick answer is no, we don't support it today, but that's something in discussion right now. So we hope to get there. Yes. I can't hear you.
I'll repeat it.
Okay.
So the gentleman asked, like, hey, you know, he noticed there were a lot of entities like payment schedules, customer stuff. Would these entities be delivered to, you know, kind of partners so that, you know, they can use it as well? So reality is like whatever we, you know, kind of working with the FNO team, they're doing huge amount of changes on the CDS side as well to making sure like those apps are similar. So for sure, you know, those things would be shipped. And that's what like he is saying, like end of June preview. Now, without taking much time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the iOS on the FNO VM. Okay? And to make you guys believe that, I have to go on FNO and refresh the screen. Okay? So it's really down. Okay? Now what we'll do, we'll quickly go on the CDS side, and I would create a new record. And remember, the sync is still on. Okay? So technically it should complain. Let's say test. Errors. I'm going to just put like some values. I'm going to say this is a customer. Okay. It shouldn't save, but let's see. Okay. So, you know, it's throwing out an error. Don't look at the error. We are working on making it pretty. But reality is like, you know, the other side is down. It's not able to communicate. So let me quickly, you know, like if you remember, I set up a threshold of 3 or 4. So I have to do it a couple of times. This is the second time. Third time, it should fail, hopefully. Okay. Let's do it one more time. Okay. So, I mean, it's kind of expected that, you know, when you are kind of live, user is going to try multiple times. You really want to hit the threshold, because if it is a genuine case, you know, there is a network issue, you really do not want to kind of disable it. Let's try one more time. Okay. So magic, you know, the save happened. What it means is it actually, you know, kind of hit the thresholds within those like 15-minute window, like there were more than 3 errors. And the type of error was kind of classified there. It's not for every kind of error. And it paused it. Now let's continue to work as a normal user. I created an account with test errors. I'll specify a phone number, let's say 425. Oops. Let's make this thing, you know, something better. Okay. I'll save it and I'll create one more record. Test Sabine and 100. Okay. Now both the records, I was able to create a record, I was able to update an existing record, you know, and I re-updated a new record which I created. Okay. And the other side is still down. Now, first thing we want to do is we want to turn AX back. And I'm not sure why it got disconnected. Well, let's see. That'll be fun if I'm not able to bring it back.
The real world, yeah. Yes. Do we store it or do we expose it?
The execution logs at a record level, or you know. Yeah. No, no, not today, but you know, that's something, you know, we may be able to kind of do it in future.
That's not.
No, I'm not sure what's going on,
Yeah.
but let's try Sabine's box. Really went down. But let me show you something till you know, Sabine tries to bring that back. Is if you go to, you know, the dual write screen, what you will see, there is another state called paused. Okay. So you see this entity state? It's kind of marked paused. So that's what happened when the kind of the threshold was hit. Let's see if, you know, this is back. Looks like it is. Sorry, you know, network issues.
No, I can't connect here.
No, don't do that. And what I would do, I would just do an IS start so that FNO box is back.
Yeah.
In the real-time scenario, is there a limit on how many records get synced because of getting error out? I don't know if you guys do threading in terms of
So
records going through at the same time. Or
it should ideally should go through. There may be some throttling on the CDS or CRM side, the CDS side. There is some work we did very recently, which helps the data integrator as well, wherein we did, so there is an inherent throttling on CRM, which we cannot change per se. So we did some work to kind of do some data parallelism, so that you'll be benefited from that from data integrator side and the dual write side. So expect some slowness, but going on the finance and operations side, we are using bulk APIs wherever possible, so that you'll see a faster performance.
Good news, you know, FNO is back.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in pause state. This is the magic which we did, you know, when we hit the threshold. What I'm going to do, I'm going to enable it back. You know, like assume like after your planned maintenance or, you know, whatever outage was there, your admin should have received an email as well. If you want to go see my email, I got this email, you know, like 15 minutes back, which said like, hey, this entity, accounts entity, you know, kind of got paused because of some errors. Okay. Now, as an admin, I come back and I enable this back. So when I enable this back, all the changes which happened on the CDS side, which we queued, we are trying to replay them on the FNO side. So if we go back to, you know, the account screen, I should see those accounts, test Sabine and, you know, the other one as well. See the test errors one, if you guys remember, and I believe it's still pushing the other one. Yeah.
Customer type?
Yeah, I'm like, my bad. So I didn't set the type on customer, so that record is not synced, but let's look at the test errors one. So in this case, you know, if you remember, I changed the phone number. So when I created the account test errors, I did not specify a phone number. And then I went and updated it as well. So what is interesting is when it is kind of paused, okay, you can do subsequent updates on the same record as well, and we'll take the latest one. Okay, so we will keep a history of, you know, kind of what is happening on that record, and we'll make sure we take the latest one. Okay. Now this works across entities. You can pause multiple entities together. Okay, this is the stuff which is going in, you know, kind of preview in private preview. So this one is not in public preview. Now the last thing I want to quickly demo is around the multiple legal entity stuff. Now I have another environment set up wherein I've enabled accounts. But what I did, if you look at this thing, I've enabled two companies, USMF and USSI. So instead of setting it up for one legal entity, I set it up for two legal entities. And if I go on the FNO on the CDS side, when I create a new record, the first thing I have to specify is company. Okay? These are the changes which we are currently working on. I wanted to give you an early kind of overview of it. So on the CDS side, we are adding a company concept for dual right purpose, only for dual right purpose. So in this case, it's mandatory. I'm going to specify USMF. And let's say I'm going to use test USMF. And I'm going to specify customer relationship type. And I'm also going to specify customer group. So if you look carefully, customer group does not exist on CDS side. That's a new entity which we are adding part of integration. Company does not exist. We are adding company as well, part of the integration. Now I'll save this guy. Okay. Now at this time, the live sync is on. It's going to kind of go create it on the FNO side. Let's quickly validate. This is USMF company, if you see. If I refresh, the test USMF record is there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the company to USSI. Okay. No. Okay. So his question was, we're not talking about business unit yet, correct? So I'm going to create another record in accounts, but this time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to, kind of create it in USSI. Let me just quickly refresh this thing. Okay. Instead of USMF, I'll specify USSI. And let's say test USSI. And obviously relationship type and customer group. Now in this case, like CDS would know why dual right to write it into USSI company rather than USMF. So if you go back to FNO, in this case, the company is USSI. If I refresh, I should see test USSI record. Okay. Now, to make this happen, there's tons of work which FNO team and dual right platform has done. The first thing is we have added the company entity on CDS side. And we have made sure that company entity is part of keys on things like accounts, customer group on the CDS side. So those are the things which you would see around kind of end of June timeframe.
Pick up the pace.
Okay.
That's it?
Yeah. So we'll switch back to the slides.
To the architecture.
Okay.
We have like 7 minutes.
Okay. Quick one, on the architecture side, this is CDS to FNO. What we do, we look at the events which we get in the plugin. Once we get a CURD event, we tap into the plugin and we write using OData API into FNO. Okay? On the FNO side, just specifically for dual write, we actually added the concept of events at entity layer, not at table layer, at an entity layer. So we tap into those events, and then once we get to know CURD at an entity level, we write into CDS using OData. Okay? Very simple stuff. We do not bypass business logics. We do not bypass validations. Standard, custom, pretty much everything we're done. Okay?
All right. So quickly going through what's coming next, which will first hit the insiders preview. Like we have a set of customers testing that as well. I'm sure some of those guys are here. But this is the cycle that we use. We create features, some insiders test it. That's how we know it's really customer validated, and that's how we push it out to public preview and then GA. So most of this stuff, I believe you've already seen this through demo. There is one thing I wanted to point out, and I think you were asking that question about out-of-box entity mappings. So I actually have a slide, I forgot. So there is a slide here which shows all the entity mappings, and it's publicly available as well. If you look up the release notes for finance and operations, you'll see the entities listed there. I think there are 30 or 32 entities that will come public preview end of June. So you should see that. The second thing that I didn't write it here is one of the coolest features that we are working on is all this that you saw. It's like you still have to come to FNO, set it up, like quick thing, but still you have to set it up. What we are after, and we hope to get that definitely by October GA, is we want to get to a place wherein when you deploy a finance and operations instance, once the deployment is complete, it should automatically go discover if you have a CDS in your tenant. If you have it, you have an opt-out feature, but it will try and connect it and turn on dual write automatically. And you have an option to opt out. Or if you don't have it, it will create one on your behalf and then let you connect to it. There is a lot more details in terms of what it looks like, what kind of environments you can connect. We are not there yet, but I just want to let you know that's something I think could just be a game changer as well to get you faster to CDS and vice versa. And this is the slide I was talking about. These are the entities that are coming end of June. So you should look up the release notes under finance and operations, and you should get them. It's public for sure. And they are targeting an October GA as well. In terms of timelines, May 20th is when we announced dual write preview. From now until October, the public preview continues. What you'll get to see is some additional features as we showed you today, plus the out-of-box entity mapping. So that will keep dropping. So expect a lot to happen, which is why test it now and start giving us feedback. And the way you get there, actually, before that, I just put this as a bonus slide because we got a question yesterday. How many of you have heard of this, and I don't know how much it's relevant for people like here, that customers are asking, so fine, I have a way now to go from finance and operations to CDS. But what about if I want to go from CDS to the lake? Because then your story kind of continues. This is where it's coming, and we should see a blog about it pretty soon. It will be me and somebody like from finance and operations, Melinda, who's going to write this together, because last week we had one of the MVPs ask the exact same question. So we put this together. This is what it's going to look like. So we are building a service which takes CDS data to Azure Data Lake. Okay, it is primarily meant for analytics. So all the analytic apps that you've heard, Sales Insight, Customer Insights, all of those are going to use the same service behind the scenes to take data from CDS to Data Lake. So the story about what we explained here today is how you take the F&O data to CDS. This is where it completes. The other piece that this is coming from F&O is they are working directly to push their entity store, I believe, directly to the data lake. So that's another exciting piece, and I think if I'm not wrong, it's already in public preview. Okay? I hope we just inserted this morning because we thought since the questions were coming, this is what the story is looking at. And before I forget, we wanted to make sure that we are delivering on our promise. So earlier this year, and even last year, we took a lot of feedback. So one of the things that we did in Jan-Feb timeframe is, for Data Integrator, we put together a completely new UI from scratch. If you see, everything is predictable in terms of all the creation happens from a right panel. So that's something we added. Sharing data integration projects between users within the same tenant. So a lot of customers, especially enterprise, said that not one person, it's not like one person works on an integration project, there are multiple people. So that's something that we have done. The third thing is a lot of customers wanted this, that, hey, I want the ability to push templates across tenants. So that's something we added along with versioning, and ability to filter projects and templates across on both the sides. So these are the things that we wanted to tell you that we have delivered on our promise. We're really going through this fast. I'm sorry, guys. I hope by now the session objectives have been met. What I want to let you know that if you have feedback as you test the preview, definitely email us to cdsdualwrite@service.microsoft.com. Thank you already for all the people who have reached out to us. We are listening to your feedback and acting upon it, so thank you for that. This is just a list of sessions that our team is doing. You're here doing dual write. And yeah, please don't forget to do the evaluation. So I think we are almost, we are top of the hour, guys. So I should thank you. Thanks a lot for your time. If you have questions, come over to the stage. If you're here, we'll definitely help you out.
Thanks, guys.